I want to pick up on what Tony was saying, because I too thought that. And you said, people said, why didn't members of his inner circle speak up about what many believe was the apparent decline of Joe Biden? You said, you're a member of the inner circle and you never saw the decline. And after that, I wrote, how?
Because she's lying.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the greatest show on earth, or my basement. I'm Dronetek, your ringmaster of media madness, and today we are driving the clown car that is Karine Jean-Pierre's book tour flop.
I'm tired, boss.
You know, the one where she defends Joe Biden's sharp as a tack brain and her gaslighting of America. You might think the Democrat Party hacks of CBS mornings would go easy on her, but it doesn't go that way at all. I have my thoughts on why that is, but first, let's check out this train wreck.
I want to pick up on what Tony was saying, because I too thought that. And you said, people said, why didn't members of his inner circle speak up about what many believe was the apparent decline of Joe Biden? You said, you're a member of the inner circle and you never saw the decline. And after that, I wrote, how? You even write, Karine, that you were on the plane with him going to the debate and you didn't see anything.
Well, when we were
on
the Air Force One going to the debate, you got to remember his campaign people were on the team, his family was on the team. I actually was one of those rare trips that I didn't really see him until after the debate, even though I was on the plane. So really, I want everybody to know that I take this question incredibly seriously. I do. I was his White House press secretary, which means I had a role that saw him practically every day and traveled with him.
And you saw nothing.
For more than 95%. We've always said, we're not going to say, oh, he didn't age. He aged. And he poked fun at it. We always owned up. And with age comes what happens when you get older.
Which is?
But when we talk about the mental acuity, and again, I take this very, very seriously. I never saw anyone who wasn't there. I saw someone who was always engaged. I saw someone who understood policy, pushed us on the policy, and also understood history. And there were times, I'll tell you the story, there were times where he would call me into the Oval Office, and I would be like, oh no, because I knew whatever he was going to ask me was going to be direct, was going to be about a story he read, about how we're pushing back.
Stop. You lying motherfucker, stop.
You know, I thought of something while I was editing, and it's just how this excuse is total bullshit. If Joe Biden was so great behind the scenes, they'd have followed him around with cameras so they could prove it to the public. Instead, what we saw was a Joe Biden who looked like he was pumped full of drugs and still made no coherent sense. We hear this excuse all the time from the media mouthpieces, but it's just total crap.
Only person who had
was also clearly having problems, right? I mean, lots and lots and lots of people who just watching him on video, let alone meeting him, had reported on that. Have you reflected on why there's this big disconnect between the millions of Americans at home who were watching him and said, I don't know if he's all there, and you saying behind the scenes, wow, he was there?
Excuse me, the fuck did you just say?
You've probably heard of deep fakes, but just last week, as President Biden was at the G7 summit in Italy, cheap fake clips went viral on social media and were picked up by some news outlets.
The millions of Americans at home who were watching him and said, I don't know if he's all there, and you saying behind the scenes, wow, he was there.
So a couple of things. We were always honest. You couldn't hide the fact that he was aging, right? And we saw that there were moments where it showed that he was no one is denying that, and he would poke fun at that.
Please believe me. Please believe me.
Does the president have the stamina, physically and mentally, do you think, to continue on even after 2024?
Don, you're asking me this question. Oh my gosh. That is not a question that we should be even asking.
I would put the president's stamina, the president's wisdom, ability to get this done on behalf of the American people against anyone.
How is President Biden ever going to convince the 3/4 of voters who are worried about his physical and mental health that he is okay, even though in Las Vegas he told a story about recently talking to a French president who died in 1996?
I'm not even going to go down that rabbit hole with you, sir. I think you all have called this the cheap fakes video, and that's exactly what they are. They are cheap fakes video.
We were always honest. You couldn't hide the fact that he was aging, right? And we saw that there were moments where it showed that he was no one is denying that. And he said it was a horrible debate, terrible debate. He has spoken about it. I have spoken about it at the podium. I think I said this to you at the 8 o'clock hour, to you and the other anchors. And this question, I take it very seriously. When you talk about his mental acuity, we talk about him being all there. He's someone that I saw almost every day, if not every day, and traveled with more than 95% of the time on Marine One, Air Force One. He was someone who would debate with you, engage with you.
What's the disconnect here then? Like, is the country just ageist? Because millions of Americans didn't think he was up to it, but you're saying there was nothing there.
Well, I'm someone.
No problem.
I think the difference is I saw him every day.
Okay.
I did. I saw him every single day and had a first account of the president that I understood and I knew.
Right.
And lastly, just on the topic of hiding Joe Biden's obvious mental decline, it's still funny to me how not only is KJP sitting here trying to lie and gaslight everybody into believing something we all know is not true, but you have these media people who are also still trying to play it off like they were completely fooled. We all knew it when it was happening. It was so clear that they were just trying to tip the election in favor of Joe Biden. It's just so wild to me that all of these people who took part in the cover-up, like Jake Tapper and now Karine Jean-Pierre, are writing these books and making money off the fact that they lied. And what's even more maddening is that none of them had faced any accountability. The media, of course, investigated themselves and found they did nothing wrong and have now moved on. Well, that's my thoughts on it. Let me know what you all think in the comments, and if you're still here, you might as well hit that like button and subscribe. I do post on a regular basis, so make sure to keep checking back for more. Thanks a lot.